Hello students, welcome to Shoras's classes. So in today's video we'll continue our discussion on UGC NET Economics 2000 November paper 3 microeconomics. So as you know, in the earlier video we solved, so we'll simply go to the second question. As you know, in the earlier video we solved question number 1. So in today's video we'll go to question number 2. So in question number 2 it is given, which of the following features belong to Cournot model of duopoly? So which of the following features belong to Cournot model of duopoly? So it given three options are given, that is, it yields determinate and stable equilibrium for duopolist. So it yields determinate and stable equilibrium for duopolist. It is an adequate representation of Nash equilibrium. If the duopolist combine to form a monopoly, the price changed by them will be less than the equilibrium price without their combining together. So we have to see out of these three which one belongs to the feature of Cournot model of duopoly. So for first of all, we know that these two are correct, that is, it yields determinate and stable equilibrium for duopolist, the Cournot model, and it is an adequate representation of Nash equilibrium. We know these two are right, but we have to investigate whether this statement, that is, if the duopolist combine to form a monopoly, the price changed by them will be less than the equilibrium price without their combining together, is a right statement or not. So for this what we have to do, so we know a Cournot duopoly model. In a Cournot duopoly model, what happens is that all firms choose output simultaneously. So we need to remember what? All firms choose output simultaneously. So this is the first thing. The basic Cournot assumption is that each firm chooses its quantity taking as given the quantity of its rival. So each firm chooses its quantity assuming that the quantity of other firms is given, and finally the resulting equilibrium is a Nash equilibrium, which is called a Cournot equilibrium. So first of all, it is determinable and stable equilibrium for duopolist. So this is right, and its adequate representation is Nash equilibrium, which is also correct. So now, if the duopolists combine to form a monopoly, the price charged by them will be less than the equilibrium price without their combining together. So this statement is not correct because the duopolists would not combine to form a monopoly. So we would conclude that for question number 2, the right answer is option A and B, so which goes with 3. So for question number 2, the right answer is option 3. Now we'll go to the next question. So as you know, in today's video we are only focusing on the microeconomics parts. So for then I'll go to question number 3. So it says a good is called a given good when the income effect is, 4 options are given: positive, greater than substitution effect, and equal to substitution effect, less than substitution effect, negative and greater than substitution effect. So first of all, we need to know what is a given good. Given good is a kind of good when price of that good increases. We usually know in the demand understanding, that is, when price of any good increases, the demand for that good falls. But in case of given good, what happens? When price of that good increases, the demand for that good, that is for given good, the demand for given good also increases. And similarly, when price falls, the demand for given good falls instead of increasing, because given good is basically the goods like staple goods, like say for an example potatoes is the major example that we usually use. That is potato, when the price of potato increases, as this is a staple food for most of the people, the consumption of potato also increases by cutting down the consumption of other commodities. And the similar thing happens when price of it falls, we shift our consumption from potato, that is to some other commodity. So as you can see, now we are coming to income effect and substitution effect. Income effect is what? When price of any commodity increases, what happens? We know the real income is M by P, that is the money income by P. So when price of any commodity increases, the income basically falls. So the real income falls. So when real income falls, we know the quantity demanded also falls. So when price of any good increases, the real income falls, so the demand for that commodity also increases. So this is known as income effect. Now what is substitution effect? That is when price of any commodity increases, we shift to the consumption of other commodity. That is, we shift to the other commodity. So, and substitution effect is that when price of any commodity increases, the consumption pattern for that commodity, that is the consumption for that commodity, falls. So now what I'll do is I'll simply draw a diagram. For this I'll take another page. So we'll explain the income and substitution effect in case of given good. So for this, what I'll do is first I'll draw another one diagram. So first of all, consumers initial equilibrium, we first will draw the consumers initial equilibrium. So for this, first we'll draw the budget line to be like this. Sorry, I'll redraw it. So consumers budget line looks like this, which is M1 and N1. So consumers budget line looks like this. And now, so now as you can see, the initial IC looks like this. So it will be a bit better, I think. So initial IC looks like this. I'll redraw it. So this is the first budget line, which is known as M1 and N1, and this is the IC known as IC1. Now we know that is the, according to this, the initial equilibrium is E1. Now x-axis represent the given commodity, that is x-axis represent the given commodity and y-axis represent the superior commodity, which is known as y. So this is x and this is y. This is superior commodity. So now what happens is that, so what happens is, assume that price of the given commodity falls. Now say for an example, price of this commodity, that is price of given commodity, falls. So what happens is that the budget line shifts outward. As you know, this look, this at this point the budget line is M by P. So if price falls, M by P increases. So usually the budget line pivots from M1 N1 to At this you can simply extend it to N2. So the budget line shifts from M1 N1 to M1 N2. Now what happens is that as it has shifted from M1 N1 to M1 N2, now the consumer moves to a new equilibrium point E3. So the consumer moves to a new equilibrium point E3. So initially he was consuming this level, which we can denote as X2. Now he has moved to a new equilibrium point, say for an example at this level, which is IC2. So he has reached another IC. So now he is consuming less of X1 and more of X2, because why? Because you know the X is given commodity. So price has shifted, the budget line has shifted rightward, but the IC has shifted leftward. Now what happens is that at this new equilibrium point, the quantity demanded of commodity is given by X2 X1, that is this amount. Now what happens? This movement represents the total price effect. So this movement basically represents the total price effect. Now we know total price effect consists of income effect and substitution effect. So total price effect consists of income effect and substitution effect. Now I will explain what is income effect and substitution effect. Now if we draw another parallel budget line, which is, say for an example with this regard to this, if you draw another parallel budget line which is tangential to this initial budget line, say from here, if you draw another budget line which is tangential to this and which is tangential to this IC and parallel to this budget line, say we name it M2 N3. So we name it M2 and N3. So we name it M2 N3. Now what happens is that we reach another equilibrium point, which is this one here. We reach another equilibrium point which is X3. Now here the quantity demanded for X has increased from X1 to X3, as you can see. This shift is known as substitution effect. So this is known as substitution effect. And what is income effect? Income effect is basically what? This minus X1 X3. So this minus X1 X3 is known as income effect. So which must be negative. So the income effect, which is the income effect is given by effect is given by X2 X1, that is this level, X2 X1 minus X1 X3 minus X1 X3. So which this must be negative, because as you can see this is smaller and this is greater. So we know that this must be negative. Furthermore, substitution effect, as you can see, is positive. Substitution effect is positive. In this way, the income effect and substitution effect work in opposite direction in case of given good. So we have to remember what? The substitution effect is positive in case of given good and income effect is negative in case of given good. Now, however, in modern economy, it is difficult to find an example of given paradox. Furthermore, many economists are not ready to believe that given paradox was actually observed. Hence, little empirical evidence is plausible to conclude that given paradox in real life is very unlikely. So here we have said that the income effect is negative, and as you can see, the income effect is greater than substitution effect. This is why the quantity demanded has fallen. So for this reason we know that if you go back to the question paper again, so the right answer is income effect is negative and greater than substitution effect. So for this reason we can conclude for question number 3, the right answer is option 4. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any query or doubt, you can simply WhatsApp me on this number, which is 9836793076, or you can also go to our website, which is www.shourabsirsclasses.com. There you will find a lot of other videos like this, and you will also get to see a lot of other materials which are needed for different entrance exam. So thank you for watching this video. Have a nice day ahead.